The Eclipse by Virginia Woolf. Never was there a stranger purpose than that which brought us together that June night in Euston Railway Station. We were come to see the dawn. Trains like ours were starting all over England at that very moment to see the dawn. All noses were pointing north. When for a moment we halted in the depths of the country, there were the pale yellow lights of motor cars also pointing north. There was no sleep, no fixity in England that night. All were on the roads, all were travelling north. All were thinking of the dawn. As the night wore on, the sky, which was the object of so many million thoughts, assumed greater substance and prominence than usual. The consciousness of the whitish soft canopy above us increased in weight as the hours passed. When in chill, early morning, we were turned out on a Yorkshire roadside, our senses had orientated themselves differently from usual. We were no longer in the same relation to people, houses, and trees, we were related to the whole world. We had come, not to lodge in the bedroom of an inn, we were come for a few hours of disembodied intercourse with the sky. Everything was very pale. The river was pale, and the fields, brimming with grasses and tasselled flowers which should have been red, had no colour in them, but lay there whispering and waving round colourless farmhouses. Now the farmhouse door would open, and out would step to join the procession the farmer and his family in their Sunday clothes, neat, dark and silent as if they were going uphill to church, or sometimes women merely leant on the window-sills of the upper rooms, watching the procession pass with amused contempt. It appeared they have come such hundreds of miles, and for what? They seemed to say in complete silence. We had an odd sense of keeping an appointment with an actor of such vast proportions that he would come silently and be everywhere. By the time we were at the meeting place, on a high fell, where the hills stretched their limbs over the flowing brown moorland below, we had put on too, though we were cold and with our feet stood in red bog water were likely to be still colder, though some of us were squatted on Mackintoshes plates eating, and others were fantastically accourted and none were at their best, still we had put on a certain dignity. Rather, perhaps we had put off the little badges and signs of individuality. We were strung out against the sky in outline and had the look of statues standing prominent on the ridge of the world. We were very, very old, we were men and women of the primeval world come to salute the dawn. So the worshippers at Stonehenge must have looked among tussocks of grass and boulders of rock. Suddenly, from the motor car of some Yorkshire squire, there bounded 4 large, lean, red dogs, hounds of the ancient world, hunting dogs, they seemed, leaping with their nose close to the ground on the track of boar or deer. Meanwhile the sun was rising. A cloud glowed as a white shade glows when the light is slowly turned up behind it. Golden wedge-shaped streamers fell from it and marked the trees in valley green and the villages blue-brown. In the sky behind us there swam white islands in pale blue lake. The sky was open and free there, but in front of us a soft snow bank had massed itself. Yet, as we liked, we saw it proving worn and thin in patches. The gold momentarily increased, melting the whiteness to a fiery gauze, and this grew frailer and frailer till, for one instant, we saw the sun in full splendor. Then there to come was a pause, a moment of suspense, like that which precedes a race. The starter held his watch in his hand, counting the seconds. Now they were off. The sun had to race through the clouds and to reach the goal, which was a thin transparency to the right, before the sacred seconds were up. He started. The clouds flung every obstacle in his way. They clung, they impeded. He dashed through them. He could be felt, flashing and flying when he was invisible. His speed was tremendous. Here he was out and bright, now he was under and lost. But always one felt him flying and thrusting through the murk to his goal. For 1 second he emerged and showed himself to us through our glasses, a hollowed sun, a crescent Sunday. Finally, he went under for his last effort. Now he was completely blotted out. The moments passed. Watches were held in hand after hand. The sacred 24 seconds were begun. Unless he could win through before the last one was over, he was Lost? Still one felt him tearing and racing behind the clouds to win free, but the clouds held him. They spread, they thickened, they slackened, they muffled his speed. Of the 24 seconds only 5 remained, and still he was obscured. And, as the fatal seconds passed, and we realized that the sun was being defeated, had now, indeed lost the race, all the color began to go from the moor. The blue turned to purple, the white became livid as at the approach of a violent but windless storm. Pink faces went green, and it became colder than ever. This was the defeat of the sun, then, and this was all, so we thought, turning in disappointment from the dull cloud blanket in front of us to the moors behind. They were livid, they were purple, but suddenly one became aware that something more was about to happen, something unexpected, awful, unavoidable. The shadow growing darker and darker over the moor was like the heeling over of a boat, which instead of righting itself at the critical moment, turns a little further. And then a little further on its side and suddenly capsizes. So the light turned and heeled over and went out. This was the end. The flesh and blood of the world was dead, only the skeleton was left. It hung beneath us, a frail shell, brown, dead, withered. Then with some trifling movement, this profound obeisance of the light, this stooping down and abasement of all splendor was over. Lightly, on the other side of the world, up it rose, it sprang up as if the one movement after a second's tremendous pause, completed the other, and the light which had died here rose again elsewhere. Never was there such a sense of rejuvenescence and recovery. All the convalescences and respites of life seemed rolled into one. Yet, at first, so light and frail and strange the color was, sprinkled rainbow-like in barred a hoop of color, that it seemed as if the earth could never live decked out in such frail tints. It hung beneath us, like a cage, like a hoop, like a globe of glass. It might be blown out, it might be stove in. But steadily and surely our relief broadened and our confidence established itself as the great paintbrush washed in woods dark on the valley, and massed hills blue above them. The world became more and more solid, it became populous, it became a place where an infinite number of farmhouses, of villages, of railway lines have lodgment until the whole fabric of civilization was modeled and molded. But still the memory endured that the earth we stand on is made of colors, colors can be blown out, and then we stand on a dead leaf. And we who tread the earth securely now have seen it dead.